Yo guys, how's it going? And welcome back to the channel. And today is a very special video and one that I'm actually really looking forward to as well, because today we're going to be reacting to my F1 22 predictions that I made at the start of the season. I actually made these before any kind of F1 testing had happened, so I was going into this completely blind and I failed miserably. But nonetheless, we are gonna jump in now and react to the predictions I made, and then also what the actual standings were in the end as well. So just before we get into the video as well, I have mentioned this in my F1 22 My Team Career Mode as well, but I am actually recording on an actual microphone. This is my Blue Yeti USB microphone that I literally got today. So this is sort of why I'm making this video today, because while I wanted to make it anyway, but the fact this has come today, I'm doing it today. So I kind of wanted to do it like fairly soon anyway, but this has just encouraged me to do it today. So you guys are lucky. You guys are lucky. So this will probably be going out next week. Today is the Saturday 26th. Well, yeah. So hopefully it will go out next week. But nonetheless, this is the first time I'm actually going to have to sync my audio, because obviously I won't be using the audio from my phone anymore, because I've used my phone for the last, I don't know how many years. So ever since I've started my YouTube channel really. So it's going to be weird using this and not talking directly to this. So nonetheless, let me just get my microphone in the correct order. I've just recorded some videos actually for my My Team Career Mode and finishing that series off now, and it actually sounds really nice. So I hope you are liking the audio and everything links up nicely. Nevertheless though, let's get into the video. So as you can see on screen now, this is my video from, when did I make this? 9 months ago. 31st of January 2022. So yeah, like I said, this was before any F1 testing had happened. We had no idea where anyone was going to be. And yeah, like I said, the predictions aren't the best. So let's dive in. So I did my constructors first. So I put Haas 10th, which I think a lot of people understood, because Haas have been one of those teams that have been, you know, sort of scoring a few points here and there, and then just, well, obviously last season was atrocious. They scored no points the whole season, and yeah, I think a lot of people, even though they sacrificed last season for this season, I think a lot of people had in mind that, you know, they were going to be a little bit better. They were going to be a little bit better, but they weren't going to make that much of a step forward, which they did. And I've got to be honest, obviously Magnussen was back in the team as well this year, and obviously that was great. That was great to see Magnussen back as well, because Haas have been struggling, especially with Mazepin and the two rookies that they had at the team. But yeah, they really managed a really good season, and they managed to get 8th in the championship as well. So a very good result for Haas in the end. But yeah, my prediction, 10th place for them, not the best. Next up was Alfa Romeo in 9th, and this was a tricky one as well, because Alfa Romeo are another one of those teams that, over the years when Raikkonen and Giovinazzi were there, scoring points here and there, and then sort of having a load of races where they were nowhere. And it was similar sort of this year as well, but obviously Bottas had such good results at the start of the year. He actually still finished in the top 10 as well, which is crazy to believe. But yeah, Alfa Romeo 9th, I put them in, and they actually finished the championship in 6th place. Like, that's unbelievable. Especially how well, it just proves how well Bottas started the season for Alfa Romeo. But yeah, definitely could have been a little bit better with that prediction. But you know, I went this blind. I wanted it to be a little bit of fun. But yeah, P6 for Alfa Romeo. So I think that's probably going to be the worst one out of them all in terms of my prediction. But there is probably a worse one coming. That's for sure. In P8, I think I put Williams. Which I was very wrong about. Latifi and Albon. Albon was absolutely great this season, I felt. P8 for Williams was optimistic, I think, considering, you know, we've always been like, oh, maybe this is the year that Williams will, you know, come back, and it didn't happen, unfortunately, and it was the same this year. They definitely weren't as bad as previous seasons, I don't think, especially in 2019. That was probably one of their worst seasons ever, I think. But yeah, P10 and last in the constructors, but they did get 8 points, and then, like I said, that's more than they've managed over the last few seasons. Well, obviously last year was quite a good result for them, but you know, nevertheless, it was a bit optimistic, I think, for me to put them in P8, but it wasn't meant to be. But you know, there's always next year. But obviously, Logan Sargent, a new rookie there next year as well with Alexander Albon. But yeah, I just don't really see if Williams are really going to be able to do much next year. But obviously, that we'll save that for the predictions video next year. We're not going to say too much now. But yeah, P8, I put Williams, and they finished last in the constructors. Aston Martin in P7, and they actually were P7. I actually got that one right. Once again, they had a bit of an up and down season. They were sort of a bit like last year, really, where they were sort of there and then sort of down again. And then obviously Stroll just started doing Stroll things and ruining everyone's day. But yeah, Aston Martin P7, and they actually finished P7, so that's the first one that I've got correct, so I'm quite happy for myself with that. Yeah, hopefully next year they can, you know, progress with Alonso being at the team as well, but we'll wait and see on that one. I just don't really see what else he's really going to be able to do, unfortunately. But yeah, we'll wait and see on that one. But yeah, apart from that, I was very happy with my prediction. So there we go, P7 for Aston Martin. I think this will be the shocking part, is AlphaTauri P9 in the Drivers' Championship, in the Constructors' Championship. Just, it's crazy. And you know, Gasly isn't exactly a rookie. Obviously Tsunoda we gave credit for last year because he was a rookie, but this year he really stepped it up. But AlphaTauri were just nowhere this season. They had so many bad results, and I was very shocked at P9. It's unbelievable, but I put them in P6 because, again, I thought they were going to be, you know, the Red Bull team that are sort of that midfield team every single season. You know, Gasly with his form the last few years has been really nailing it, but yeah, this time around just not meant to be, unfortunately. So, unfortunately, not the way AlphaTauri wanted their season to go, but P6 I put them, and they finished P9 in the Constructors. Next up, Alpine, I put them in P5, and they finished in P4, obviously in the Constructors. They were in a massive fight with McLaren, and they managed to hold out on top. Luckily, they had a lot of unreliability towards the end of the season, and it was very close, but they did manage to hold on after McLaren also did have a few bad results towards the end of the season as well. And obviously Ricciardo's not been doing the best this season either, so I think that sort of helped out Alpine as well. But yeah, P4 for Alpine in the Constructors, and I put them in P5, so a little bit just missed out on that one. But again, it'll be really good to see Gasly and Ocon, I think, next year as teammates. I think that's going to be really interesting. And once again, they're two really, really good drivers. So fingers crossed they can, you know, have a really good result. Okay, here we go. I put Red Bull P4, and for the simple fact that like I mentioned in the video, if you haven't seen it, by the way, I will link this video in the description, but P4 I put Red Bull because obviously last year they had the titanic battle with Mercedes, and me and my dad thought the exact same thing, of the fact that because of this they would be slower this season because they sacrificed everything into last season and, you know, just put everything into that season. But I was so wrong. Obviously, they dominated the championship. They finished on 759 points. Like, I think that's a new record, I think, for constructors. But yeah, I couldn't have been more wrong about that. So let's move on before I make myself look like an absolute fool. But no, let's not move on. I just want to say that obviously, you know, obviously I'm not the biggest of Red Bull fans, you know, for obvious reasons after last year and everything like that. But Red Bull, take nothing away, they have absolutely dominated this season, and it's fair to say that, you know, they're going to be well in the fight, I think, for next year as well, depending on how much this 10% reduced wind tunnel time affects them. But I think they still will be there next year as well, so it will be interesting to see where they are. So next up, McLaren then. I put them in P3 because I felt like they were going to be, you know, again, a quicker car. I thought they were going to jump ahead of Red Bull and Alpine, and they were a little bit from Alpine, but definitely not for Red Bull. And they finished P5 in the constructors. And like I said, it was, I think, down to the fact that Ricciardo wasn't putting in the performances that he needed to, and that really helped Alpine, you know, with the result. But you know, considering they only finished, you know, a little bit behind, it proves what a good job Norris has done this whole season, to be honest. So it's great. You got to give a round of applause to Norris. Fantastic result. But yeah, P3 for McLaren I put them, but they did finish in P5. I then put Ferrari in P2 because I just felt like they were going to move up a little bit. Obviously, it's Ferrari, one of the oldest teams in the sport. They finished P2 in the constructors, and they finished P2 in the constructors in real life as well. So great to see. That's 2 out of 10 for me so far, and that is going to be the result because Mercedes I put at top, and as you can see, if we move on, P1 for Mercedes. And I just thought, yeah, the amount of money that they had over the last 7 seasons or however long they've dominated, winning all those constructors championship, it looks like they were going to be dominant for many more years to come. But the regulation change obviously changed that a lot, and it wasn't meant to be, unfortunately. So Mercedes P1 I put them, but they did finish in P3, and it was looking like they were going to get Ferrari eventually, but unfortunately Ferrari stepped it up towards the end of the season as soon as the championship was over, and they managed to hold on to P2. So yeah, I was very wrong at the top, but well, not very wrong. I got Ferrari and Aston Martin correct, but apart from that, pretty dismal. Alright, so now we're going to move on to the drivers' standings. Obviously, at first we've got Nick de Vries and Hulkenberg 21 and 22nd, but obviously I didn't know they were going to be replacing the guys that weren't going to take part. So obviously Vettel had COVID at the start of the year, and then Albon had the surgery in Monza, so Nick de Vries stood in for him. So I haven't included them on this list, but obviously Nico Hulkenberg finished P22 with 0 points, and de Vries got that I think P9 and scored 2 points in Monza. So yeah, a great result for Nick de Vries, but like I said, I haven't included them on this list. But for my first prediction, I put Nikita Mazepin as 20th. And again, he wasn't even driving either. It was Magnussen, obviously, that came in to replace him after the whole Russia war. So yeah, I had to put Mazepin 20th place, which I think he still would have probably finished in 20th as well, because the guy was just useless. And yeah, I don't even want to talk about it. So let's just move on. Magnussen obviously isn't going to be on this list because, again, I didn't realise that he was going to be racing. And next up is Guan Yu Zhou. And I was very harsh with Guan Yu Zhou, P19. And I think that was down to the fact, I thought the Alfa Romeo wasn't going to be as good as it was. And obviously Zhou being a rookie as well. But he actually did a very good job, I felt, for his first season in F1. Got very unlucky at times as well. But yeah, he actually finished in P18. So not great. It was only 1 down from where he actually finished, but nevertheless, for a rookie season, a lot of bad luck. You can't really complain, really, and I think it was a very good season. It will be good to see what he does next year for a fresh restart. But yeah, I was 1 off on that one, but P19 for Guan Yu Zhou, and he finished in P18. Next up is Mick Schumacher. I put Mick in P18, and he actually finished in a very respectable P16, and I think a lot of people were a little bit disappointed because obviously he was crash happy. Now he's lost his seat because I think his cost has so much money. It's a bit of a shame, but yeah, P16 for Mick in the constructors, but I put him in P18. So yeah, a little bit off on that one as well, but not too bad. And obviously these ones are going to be a little bit closer because it's the back markers, but nevertheless, P18 for Mick Schumacher and P16 for him in real life. I then put the 2 Williams 16th and 17th, and I couldn't have been more wrong on this one. Albon obviously did finish ahead of Latifi. Latifi didn't get well, he got those 2 points in Japan, but apart from that, that was pretty much it. Albon got 4 points throughout the whole season. He finished in P19, and Latifi technically finished P20 because he was the last of the actual drivers who took part. So yeah, P16 and P17 for Latifi and Albon. And they finished, yeah, like I said, P19, P20. So yeah, I was hoping that, with Williams being a little bit ahead was going to help, but it didn't, unfortunately. So it wasn't meant to be for those guys. But yeah, like I said, Albon, hopefully we have to step it up for next season even more, because I think he's a great driver and I think he does deserve a better seat. Definitely not Williams. Someone like McLaren or somewhere, I feel like I could see him going to, but nevertheless, I could have been a little bit wrong on that. Next up is Bottas. I put him in P15, and I just thought, coming from Mercedes down to Alfa Romeo, first season, he's just going to sort of, he's a good driver, and he's going to outscore the guys behind him, but yeah, once again, I was wrong on that one. He finished in P10. P10 in an Alfa Romeo is It's unbelievable, really. And yeah, you got to give credit to Valtteri Bottas for what he did in the season, because he just dominated for that first half of the season and did a really, really good job. Well done, Bottas. Yeah, P15 I put him, and then P10 he finished in the drivers' challenge. I put Yuki Tsunoda in P14. Again, this was a hard one because I didn't realise obviously AlphaTauri were going to be this slow, but yeah, Yuki Tsunoda had an awful season. Really, he had so many bad races where he was like 2 laps down and stuff like this, like Hungary for a good example. And he finished P17 in real life, so I niced Tsunoda there a little bit too much. But yeah, Tsunoda, not a good season at all. And yeah, hopefully he'll be able to bounce back as well for next year, because yeah, not good. Next up, I put Vettel and Stroll, P12 and P13. I thought Vettel was going to outscore Stroll, which he did. Vettel finished P12 on 37 points, and Lance Stroll finished in P15 on 18 points. So yeah, a little bit off on there as well. But yeah, Aston Martin, a very difficult team. They're kind of like Alfa Romeo and Williams in a sense, where you think they're going to get a little bit better, especially obviously with all the money that Lance Stroll has, but wasn't meant to be, unfortunately. And yeah, it was a little bit disappointing to see them not do a little bit better. But obviously Vettel's now retired, and it's going to be a big shame that he's now left the sport. So yeah, goodbye Vettel. You'll be deeply, deeply missed. But yeah, a little bit off. Actually, no, I got Vettel right. What am I talking about? Vettel P12 in the Drivers' Championship. It was Stroll that was off with P13. So yeah, I got Vettel right. So that's the first one I think I've actually got correct so far. Next up is Esteban Ocon. I was just a little bit off on this one. Esteban Ocon finished P8 ahead of Alonso in the Drivers' Championship. Yeah, Alpine did definitely have the best of the rest car, but it would have been interesting to see if Ricciardo, like I said, was a little bit quicker throughout the season. I don't think they would have been able to hold on to that. But yeah, Ocon finishing ahead of Alonso. I know Alonso had a lot of bad luck to the end of the season, but nevertheless, it was fantastic to see him do so well. And yeah, I think going ahead against Gasly will be great. Obviously, a French team with all French drivers will definitely be interesting to see. And I think he could lead that team really, really well. So I really hope Ocon does have a really good season next year. But I put in P11. He finished P8. So yeah, very good result for Ocon. I was one off on this one as well. I put Alonso P10 and he did finish in P9. So I was so close. But I wasn't quite right. But like I said, he did have a lot of bad luck this season. I think he definitely would have been ahead of Ocon and a few others, especially like Norris and people like that. But yeah, not to discount Norris or anything. He had a great season, but you know, it's Fernando Alonso, one of the best, well, arguably one of the best of all time. So yeah, P10 for Alonso and finished P9 ahead behind Esteban Ocon. I put Ricciardo P9, and he actually did finish the season in P11 actually for unexpectedly a very good result for Ricciardo. I think a lot of people were going to put him sort of P15 halfway through the year, and there were a lot of them were writing him off. But put P9. It was only 2 off actually, and like I said, considering the season he had, I don't think that's a bad prediction, to be honest. So P9 for Daniel Ricciardo, and P11 he finished in real life. So yeah, not too bad, but definitely could have been a lot better from Ricciardo. Hopefully he'll come back to F1 because everyone loves Ricciardo. Next up, Pierre Gasly. Gasly finished 14th in the constructors, and I put him in P8. I couldn't have been more off with that one. And like I said, it sums up the amount of craziness that AlphaTauri suffered this season and just how poor they were. It's yeah, it really wasn't good, to be honest. Yeah, so P14 for Gasly in real life, and I put him in P8 because he just had such a good dominance over the last few years. So very, very, very off with that one. Next up, Sergio Perez. And obviously this is the fact that obviously I thought Red Bull were going to be a lot slower, which is why I put them P4 in the constructors. But yeah, I thought Perez, you know, he had a bit more confidence, but compared to Verstappen, he wasn't going to get treated like the first driver. And, you know, Perez is a good driver, but, you know, he had a shaky start to his first season at Red Bull. But he actually smashed it this season, I think. Really, really good job. Obviously, just missed out on P2 in the constructors, in the drivers, sorry, with the whole controversy with Max not letting him through in Brazil, which I think it would have made him a lot easier, more comfortable going into Abu Dhabi with, you know, that on his back. But unfortunately, he finished in P3, and unfortunately, missed out on P2, but I definitely didn't do him justice and put him in P7. But like I said, I thought that was just because the Red Bull wasn't going to be as good. But obviously they do have, Adrian Newey, one of the best, designers ever in Formula One. So yeah, I was very off with that one. But P7 for Sergio Perez and P3 for him in the Drivers' Championship in real life. So fair play to Perez. Next up, Lando Norris, and I just missed out on this one as well. I thought he was going to be just ahead of Perez, but wasn't meant to be. He finished in P7 and, like I said, was best of the rest in terms of Alpine and everyone, but he didn't finish ahead of Perez, unfortunately. But yeah, Norris, like I said, had a great season. Definitely best of the rest. And I think, like I said, McLaren would have got Alpine in the constructors if they had a second driver a little bit better, but unfortunately it wasn't meant to be. But it will be good to see what Oscar can do in that team next year. And I think he will give Lando a run for his money. It will be good to see. But yeah, Norris definitely deserves to be in a better team, I think. Definitely in a Mercedes or even a Red Bull, dare I say it. Even though I can't stand the atmosphere around Christian Horner and Helmut Marko and all those people. But yeah, Norris definitely deserves a better seat nonetheless. But yeah, P6 and he finished P7, so just missed out on that one. Next up is the two Ferraris. I put 4th for Sainz and 5th for Leclerc. Yeah, that's mad. I can't believe I actually put him ahead of Leclerc. Obviously, Leclerc had a great start to the year. I do want to do a podcast, so I will get into more details of the whole season and everyone's sort of season. But yeah, I can't believe I put Sainz ahead of Leclerc. Obviously, it did not turn out that way. Like as I mentioned, Leclerc finished P2 and Sainz in P5. So if I put Sainz in P5, I would have got another one there. So unfortunately missed out on that one. But yeah, I was a bit optimistic of Sainz getting Leclerc there. But don't get me wrong, Sainz had a really good season. But he did get a lot of bad luck as well. And well, both Ferraris did, to be honest, after their horrific season. But nonetheless, they've done really well. And yeah, I think that's a really good year for Ferrari in terms of Sainz, really doing well. And Leclerc, yeah, missed out massively, and hopefully he can bounce back for next year because, yeah, it was just god awful from Ferrari. But yeah, I can't believe I put Sainz ahead of Leclerc. That's mad. Next up is Verstappen. I put him in P3, and well, obviously I couldn't have been more wrong about this. Obviously, he won his second world title this season, 454 points, and just absolutely dominated the season. Obviously had the controversial moment, like I mentioned, with Perez in Brazil. And if it wasn't for that, he would have been able to get P2 in the constructors, in the drivers. I think Perez, but unfortunately, he wasn't meant to be. And yeah, Verstappen couldn't have been more dominant this season, and I couldn't have been more wrong with that prediction. Even though it is P3 and only 2 off, yeah, that couldn't have been more wrong. And finally, then to top it off, I obviously put Lewis as drivers' champion because it was obvious for me that he's been dominating the last, I don't know how many years. He obviously got the championship robbed from him last year, and I just thought he was just going to come in, dominate, and, take that world title and retire, which didn't happen. He finished P6, Lewis, and obviously lost the streak of every single win, every single season he's taken part of, he's won, and that streak has now come to an end as well. So yeah, a big shame. For my prediction there. I think I probably jinxed it, to be honest, but I was just going off obviously what I've obviously I was just going off of what's happened over the last few seasons, and that's all I could do basically. So yeah, unfortunately P wasn't meant to be. P6 for Lewis, and I put him in P1. And George Russell had a really good season, to be honest. He did start making mistakes towards the end of the season, but finished P4, ahead of Sainz, ahead of Hamilton, which is massive. To be a 7-time world champion in your rookie season for a new team is amazing. And I put him in P2 because I thought, Mercedes were going to be still dominant, but unfortunately the new regulations just had to change that slightly. So it was a big shame, but there we go. That has been it for my drivers' predictions. I think I only got 2 right. I got Vettel right, and I think I got who else did I get right? Who else did I get right? I swear I got someone else right. Or maybe I didn't. Did I? No. Did I? No. I think I only got Vettel. Yeah, Vettel was the only one that I got right out of that whole thing. That's not good. So as well as the Constructors and the Drivers' Championship, I also made predictions on I made 3 bold predictions that I thought would happen throughout the season. And the first one was Norris will win a race, which didn't happen, unfortunately. And it was a big shame because I thought, you know, at the start of the season, he was going to get one, especially in Imola. But wasn't meant to be. So I was wrong on that one. So that's no points for me so far. And then the second prediction, Sainz versus Leclerc will get heated, which I don't think happened. I think, if anything, Sainz and Leclerc got heated at Ferrari more than at each other. So, yeah, I think I've lost out on a point there as well. And then for the final prediction, once again, I've lost out on points. I said Lewis Hamilton will get his 8th world title and retire, which, again, well, he didn't get the championship and he's not retiring either. So I couldn't have been more wrong on that one either, so unfortunately no points there either. But there we go, guys, that has been it for this video. Let me know if you've made predictions, how well you've done as well. If you want to comment how bad this was and how bad my predictions were, let me know. And obviously, like I said, I will be doing this again next year for 2023, which is literally just around the corner already. I mean, we're nearly at the end of November and it's just going to come around like a flash. But nevertheless, guys, if you have enjoyed this video, please do give it a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to the channel as well so you never miss out on any content. Hope you haven't been enjoying this new audio sound with my voice. I just love having an actual microphone now. It's mental. And now I've got to try and sync this audio up. So that's going to be good fun. But nevertheless, guys, make sure you're, like I said, subscribed. And I'll see you all again in the next one, guys. Take care.
Never break, always fight, never quit, do it right, play the game, win it life, have no shame, there's no time, feel the pain, live the grind.